So this thing is gonna be a response to half in the bag. You guys over at Red Letter Media talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu, and I have not seen this movie, and that's probably for the best. I think there's probably something else I could dedicate that much time towards and have have a better time. Um, I'm going to trust you in what you said about the movie, and that it was probably intended to be released as a television series. And in the wake of creating content for content's sake, this hall of mirrors and trinkets and whiz bang doodads. Look at this tech wizardry and stuff. And I watched this video yesterday, and it had to do with like a sulfur dioxide, I think it was, lighting. Um, and that was the original technique as to how Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was made. A mixing of live action with animated stuff, and how inventive and revolutionary that was in its own day. But they can't seem to locate the prisms that were used um, to get the separate images of, well, the positive and the negative, so to speak, right? And the differences between it that technique and the usage of green screen or blue screen technology, and that how that, along with the techniques used to film the Mandalorian, differ from each other and their particular strengths. And what they were really saying is that basically that green screen tech is not that good, and they have difficulty filtering out certain colors, of course, which is a phenomenon you see with people experimenting with our smartphones and trying to make movies that way, or you just have a background like a Zoom meeting, to put a veil on your messy room because you've been watching the Mandalorian and Grogu, and you forgot about what you should really be doing. Um, when I was looking at, I was watching you guys talk about this stuff, and I'm like, okay, take no offense to this, but like three middle-aged dudes talking about Star Wars to me is exactly the same as, say, like three middle-aged women talking about Harry Potter. And I got to tell you, when I was inside, um the movie days were really like Saturday and Sunday, and they had a few of them on rotation that you would see frequently. I had the privilege of watching the Shawshank Redemption, well, actually in prison, and I think that's something iconic. You watch a prison movie in prison for whatever reason. And other notable ones, say, like Lost, not Lost, but Castaway was shown in Police Academy, Stripes, Magnificent Beasts, the Harry Potter expansion, uh, and Magnificent Creatures, or whatever it is, focusing on Newt and his escapades. That was on rotation quite frequently. The Harry Potter movies saw a lot of screen time as well, airtime, and then I think it was like John Wick 2 or 3, and sometimes they would throw other movies in there, but it's quite frankly, it's just it's you're being tortured, quite frankly, by Harry Potter, and that's how I feel about everything after season one of Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, and that's what I mean. As soon as I downloaded the second season of The Mandalorian and Grogu, and they to me they jumped the shark, quite literally. As soon as like that, they're in this desert scene, and he like it's well after he gets his jetpack, and he goes back to like the Mandalorian enclave, and they're all different archetypes, and you got the heavy gunner, you got the Red Baron, you got the matriarch commander lady who makes all the blacks, who does all the blacksmithing and whatever. This is our crucible, this is our challenge, this is our creed, and if you don't abide by it, I'm going to boil you alive, sort of thing. And because you dishonored us by removing your helmets, heretic, cast him out. Um, and this image that you're looking at right now that I've gotten around to talking about it, is was AI generated. I asked AI, the YouTube AI, to create me an image of a Star Wars movie, and I think this image it has more going on in it than the second season of The Mandalorian. you know, of course, see it all burn, or what's it? All roast, not burn. Uh, because it's just like, okay, well, they made this contract, and they have all of these financial obligations that ruin it. And you look at the history of Star Wars, and it's just like the horse was dead and beaten years ago, as far as I'm concerned. There are highlights, but it's like you can only play Star Wars: The Old Republic a certain number of times before it becomes, just boring. And well, I never did play Star Wars: The Old Republic. I have played the what's it with Cal Kestis. I happen to have liked those two video games. It was Survivor and I forget the other one. But that to me was like actual storytelling in the way that I would like to see from Star Wars. It's not like they did use a plot device in the form of the planet, right? Like it's this Maltese Falcon sort of thing, and then this hero's journey um, to ascend the tower and save the princess, sort of thing. Um, and these classical story narratives, I think that they're the people behind the current Star Wars. Again, they ran out of material a very long time ago, and then again, there's only so many times you can go back to Andor, before you start getting involved in Wookiee drama, right? And what I mean by Wookiee drama is that they tried to expand the fan base, right? And then they capitalized. They actually they let's put it like this: they monetized fan service, right? Where it's these cheap tricks, or and not very many deep cuts. Um, as you're saying in this review, they're trying to go after a new generation and bring them in. But they're just, it's so saturated. The amount of slop that we're encountering right now is exactly how I would say it was like when Instagram was first becoming popular, right? You had some of the first adopters who are real enthusiasts, and then all of a sudden, the sex traffickers figured out how to use it to their advantage and started selling, uh, child transgendered child pornography or something, whatever you happen to fancy, and it's really disturbing. So it's also like this the shock value, right? That's what I mean by the cheap tricks, or like the tropes of these characters, and in trying to expand the fan base, um they watered down uh whatever was left. Again, there's other stuff in the Star Wars universe besides the live action features or TV series that Disney produces, that in my opinion are a lot more faithful and are a better time, more I say a better time spent being entertained, then I'm gonna give you another example. Like, I just finished The Boys, like so many other people did, and I'm happy it's over. There was just so much, exposition in dialogue that could have been a fist fight, but they wanted to keep the action, I suppose, to be purposeful, and it's not like someone just going around on a massacre every single episode. But it's just like, you know is, as you were mentioning, the source material written by one guy in the 1960s, right? And you have this bounty hunter guy. We needed a bounty hunter, and now we developed this entire backstory and this origin and all this other fluff, to keep people interested. Because some people would just rather live in a fantasy land than they would in their own lives. And everyone needs a little bit of fantasy. I'm okay with that. Some of you have really perverted fantasies, and I don't need to know about that. Since some people dress up in Star Wars costumes and go to cosplay conventions, like whatever the fuck. Um, what more can I say? Yeah, and again, so you were just happy it was over. You know, I don't think that they really needed to have a second season of the Mandalorian, but they attempted to capitalize on it, and as you were saying, to boilerplate all of these upcoming series. And it's just, if I can't if I can if I can sit through a 1 hour of an episode, and it's like I'm watching dead air, right? I'm watching a fish flop on the floor, and I'm just waiting for it to die, because I'm a cruel bastard and I don't want to let go of things, because I'm just a man child who happens to jerk off to Carrie Ann Fisher pornography. Like, oh my goodness. It, you know what? If it's over and it's done with, that's how I feel. Let Star Wars die. That's what I say. Let it die. Let something else come to the forefront. You know, let people enjoy their sacred memories that have nothing to do with weird stuff, or anything that is, lacking of a wholesome and genuine uh feeling and attitude, because there's just so much that you could be better off. Again, they're trying to monetize your attention, right? Like, they're trying to keep you engaged, and for the clicks, so that they can leverage everyone for more financing or whatever else, and whatever metrics they've come up with, or that we've come up with, to say that something is successful in the entertainment industry. And again, I don't want, a sequel to The Boys, but they're producing one anyways. They're producing a prequel, and some people are really enthusiastic about this stuff, and that's great. I like seeing enthusiasm in other people to a certain degree, But you could possibly have someone who's enthusiastic about thimbles, and I'd rather watch a 10-minute video about the evolution of the thimble than I would 10 minutes of one of these expansion stories. Again, they keep trying to do these spin-offs and make supporting characters into main characters, and just basically to vacuum. I was gonna say Hoover money out of people's pockets, but that didn't seem appropriate. Um, but yeah, attempt to suck the dimes and the nickels out of people's pockets for again this what I would say is a grift, right? It's a very, and again, if no insult to people that love Star Wars, but it's just like, again, I feel the same way about Star Trek. I wish they had let it die. I really do. I think it would have had um, more staying power if they had. And it's just, maybe I'm too old for all of this stuff, right? I don't think there's such a thing as getting too old for fantasy, or to live in a science fic, or to like to have that suspension of disbelief, and to become involved with a 2 hour adventure. But quite frankly, I don't think I'm gonna watch it now. I remember when I watched the Solo story, after it got critically panned, and it tanked at the box office, and I was just like, why did I even try? And that seems to be the attitude of the Star Wars fandom, is like a browbeaten um housewife from the Midwest in like the 1920s. It's just like, why does this keep happening to me? That's because you keep digesting shit and you keep paying for it. So the only real solution is to just not participate in it, and to let, if you don't consume the product, right? It's just like a boycott. That's the definition of a boycott. It means that there's financial repercussions, and that they have to figure something out. They have to change it somehow, and they have to change the people involved, because as enthusiastic as someone can be for world building, or some sort of um, overarching narrative in creating something. I think that if you run out of ideas in a creative venture, it's time to step out of the spotlight, and someone else, take the reins, so to speak, of the bandwagon, so other people can jump on. And that's a reflection of what was said in the review. You know, um, so good to you guys. That it takes a real stomach and a bit of masochism for the amount of like terrible movies you guys have watched. So like, again, one of the things that attracted to me to Red Letter Media was the Plinkett or Plunkett. That's hilarious. Like, Plunkett reviews Star Wars. That was the for going on for like 3 hours. That's irreplaceable. You'll never be able to do that again. I honestly don't think that you should either. Um, and that was years ago, right? It's just like, and these things, you got to remember. We got to keep this in. I'm gonna give everyone a reality check. These movies were and are intended for children, right? So if it entertains a child, then I guess it still has value. But if it tries to hijack the child into accepting mediocrity, then quite frankly, no, thank you. So yeah, this is my more of a 20 fucking minute thing with just like, this is a meta thing, like just responding to a movie review about a Star Wars movie that probably should have just been left in the writing room, right? Whatever that's called. It should have just been, the draft should have had a read through, and that was it. And someone made a fuck up, and then all of a sudden it's in theaters for some strange reason, and you're sitting through an entire season for that's been condensed and repackaged and edited to oblivion, and it's just uh you know I think it was a lot of wasted potential. I don't think you, and then I don't, and to summarize, I don't think you need to watch the movie if you've watched the television series. I may end up watching it anyways, but I got other things to do, right? And that's how I feel about this. That's how I feel about this, having trusted other people's opinions. And so hopefully the next thing that I watch won't be shit.